Alrighty, welcome back. We are on episode 120. We are still in the inverter bunker, still exploring, and it looks like we just have a little ways to go. What's our quest update going on here? Why do I have a quest update? It doesn't appear to be. What's the point of that? I don't get it. Usually the exclamation point goes away. Okay, yeah. Not sure why it's not going away. Anyway, it's like raising Razin. Let's see. What were we doing with this guy? Delicate matters at all. I think we were doing technology. Throw that up there. 6 points. Okay. We're not using SMGs, so we can hold off on that. Alright. Let's go on. It's the last time we dealt with this terminal. I think we've been in here, though. No. This looks unfamiliar. Engineer plate, huh? Go ahead and take a gander. War diary, huh? Okay. Optical sensor. Guess we'll find a robot to stick that on somewhere. Found the big gun.
You cautiously inside, ready for any kind of trick or trap. But what you see makes you forget your trepidation. Before you is an underground railway platform with a dark tunnel leading off in either direction. This, however, is not what stops you in your tracks. The car currently parked on the platform, not 20 meters away, is carrying a strange and hulking piece of artillery. Yes, there can be no doubt. This is the famed railgun, the exact same device you studied back at Atom HQ. The legendary railgun is secretly anchored by steel cables to a specially designed car of an underground train. Hopefully it's still in working order. You're guessing it must be, given that the other tech you stumbled on in the bunker is more or less operational. As you're pondering the matter, the clatter of footsteps makes you spin about. Soldiers clad in special armor enter the underground station. One of them doffs his helmet, Minister Voronin himself. It seems he's the leader of this detachment. His people take up strategic positions as you wait, studying their every movement. Astonishing, the old man whispers, bewitched by what he's seeing. The Minister of Defense turns as if noticing your presence for the first time.
Well, I was informed you had successfully accessed the bunker, so I decided to leave for the Battle of Trudograd briefly and take a look for myself.
He scans the chamber again.
Truly, an amazing installation, built to last for centuries. No, not really.
Voronin exchanges a quick glance with his subordinates and assumes a creepily benevolent tone.
A question, if I may. What do you need this huge cannon for? It has something to do with the theoretical menace posed by the Hesperus star, correct? So I've heard. And where did you get this information about the Hesperus star?
Voronin lowers his gaze and grimly adds,
I'm not saying it's impossible, but the probability of this space rock colliding with a planet is vanishingly small.
Sentient mushroom told me. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, did you say a sentient mushroom? Voronin looks skeptical. You haven't convinced him of anything. Old Man Hexagen chimes in, as helpful as ever.
That's right, Comrade Minister. The collective mushroom intelligence that once ruled the sect beneath the streets of Krasnoznameni told us. You've read my book, haven't you? Everything is explained in the penultimate chapter. Yes, we know this already from your radio communications. It's just...
He pauses to search for the right words.
The railgun is a dangerous weapon, yet you somehow managed to get to it, even in this nigh impenetrable bunker. You really think no warlord out there could steal it back from Adam? Plus,
Voronin hesitates again before continuing in a steely voice.
How can you be so sure that some corrupt member of your organization won't use the railgun for his own selfish goals? See, you're beginning to doubt the situation yourself. First of all, what makes you so sure that the danger to Earth is even real? Second, how do you know the railgun can counter it? And last, what if some third party steals it from Adam and turns it into a long-range assault cannon?
Voronin shakes his head morosely.
I once believed that giving the device to Adam was the best option. But ever since this assault on Trudograd, I've begun to have my doubts. Can you imagine what would happen if Sioma Veronok got his grubby paws on such a gadget? And Sioma isn't even the worst thing out there. Regrettable. They will surely try to stop us.
With a practiced motion, Minister Voronin dons the huge helmet. It fixes to his armor with a soft hydraulic hiss. The last thing you see of the man's face before the steel shell obscures it completely is clear-eyed determination, the will to fight to the bitter end. With a hoarse sigh, Voronin shakes his head. Your words have touched him, even if he hasn't changed his mind. I confess, the Adam I used to know seemed to be in a very capable hand. But that was decades ago, in the world we lost thanks to weapons with less destructive potential than this magnetic cannon. How can I know the Adam of today is equally righteous? Voronin sighs heavily. You've awakened something of the old soldier in this Trudegradian bureaucrat, even if only for one elusive moment. However much I wish to deny it, I really do know Adam has not changed its ways. I can see it in your eyes, but icy determination returns to the man's voice. How can I know that you'll keep this device away from scum like those raging through the city right now? A ringing silence descends upon the bunker. Voronin seems to be searching for something in you that would allow him and his fighters to carry out his original plan. All he desires is a single, tiny clue, any reason at all to doubt you, but he finds none. We shall see, the old soldier finally replies and turns his back to you. His fighters all lower their weapons, and the clicking of multiple safety mechanisms turning on signals an end to the confrontation. Only when he's standing beneath the steel arch, leading back to the inverter facility, does Voronin glance back. I will be expecting you, he says dryly, and throws you a crisp salute. Voronin's fighters follow his example.
Why are we in combat? Okay.
After receiving the railgun coordinates, a special atom unit was immediately dispatched to Trudograd, where they secured safe transportation of the device through an underground tunnel network. When the agents reached the city, this is what they found. Trudograd's officials survived and ultimately prevailed. With the city decisively won, the Old Guard launched a comprehensive campaign of destruction against both the revolutionary rebels and the remnants of the Northern Army. The opposition was annihilated, and the secret prison camps overflowed with their family members. However, Trudograd was not to remain a dystopian police state for long. After every threat to the status quo has been eliminated, the city returned to its old ways. The officials and their families continued to get richer, and mostly ignored any official duties that didn't include new profits. As for the regular citizenry, they quietly returned to the familiar struggle, toiling away for the price of a meal and a place to sleep. After crushing the upstart revolutionaries, the city authorities transformed Seventh Heaven into an unconquerable fortress, armed with heavy artillery, surrounded by towering walls, defended by the wondrous inventions discovered on the depths below the inverter facility. The people of Trudograd continued their struggle to survive, while their rulers looked malignly down from their shining tower. Life, such as it was, went on. The Trudogradian division of Guangzhou Merchants Group survived the unrest without serious losses. More importantly, the profits they earned during the political struggle would become the stuff of legend. Widespread word of Guangzhou's business savvy would soon attract even more trade to the city. Once the ruling oligarchy and their private police had put down the rebellion and scattered the northern horde, Lieutenant Razin received a hero's welcome back in his old precinct. You stayed in touch with your former brother-in-arms, and last you heard, he was promoted to a special undercover unit committed to hunting down the few remaining survivors of the failed revolutionary movement. When the situation in Trudograd had calmed somewhat, Your self-declared father insisted on remaining in the city to immortalize your recent adventures in a grand novel to be titled Comrade Railgun. While you never actually read the book, you later heard it acclaimed as the most beloved piece of literature ever written within Trudograd's walls, which unfortunately did not save Hexogen from being condemned to a life sentence a few months later. His follow-up essay urging Atom to level Trudograd so that humanity may return to a natural woodland habitat was not popular with the authorities. The elderly writer is now reputed to reside in a warm, comfy cell. His fellow political prisoners hail him as their spiritual leader and impatiently await his magnum opus, sadistically sentenced but not sodomized. As for you, after things had calmed somewhat in the city above, you rendezvoused with your fellow Atom members and led them to the railgun. Now, while watching the delegation's scientists prepare the weapon for transport, you cannot help but ponder the question that never seems to leave your mind. Can this rusty old cannon truly be humanity's last hope? Or was the adventure which touched so many lives in Trudograd just pointless busywork? It seems your quandary must go unanswered, at least for the time being. The freight train is fueled and ready to go, but there are still some checks to be passed before the convoy rolls off into the underground network. With nothing to do but wait for deployment, you decide to spend your last moments warming yourself at a burning barrel. A man is waiting there when you arrive. Short, hunchbacked and raggedy, he entered the bunker alongside the Atom aperitifs, and is now warming his bones by the fire. His face is completely concealed in the depths of a voluminous cowl, yet somehow you know he is smiling.
Okay, I really wasn't expecting that to be the complete end. But yeah, okay. Alright, well that's the end of Atom RPG Trudograd. Where will we end up here? If I take the autosave, that's 1827 quick saves here, and 1851, the last save is. Let's go back here for a second. So what was the purpose of that item we picked up? Where is it? This is annoying. This thing. Ocular sensor. We picked that up at the very end of the game. And like there's no other way to go. Alright, well, that's the end of Adam RPG. Trudograd. It seems like I could have come into this area much earlier in the game and maybe went through several of these steps, but I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it was abrupt end, especially with picking up that piece. It's like, why pick up this piece and then you can't do anything with it? But yeah, okay, so that's the end of this episode. Well, no, let's not end the episode. I guess we could talk about the episodes. I'll talk about the game in general. So, I like the graphics of both Adam RPG and Trudograd. The graphics are great, considering what the game is. The combat's just elementary. It's not good enough. It's not strategic enough. You don't have to take advantage of terrain. It's just, who has the most firepower and initiative, pretty much wins. So the combat really is simplistic. As far as the skills, they did a better job in this game than they did Adam. This was a much improved part of the game versus Adam RPG. However, the ability, the skills for your companions still were kind of pointless, other than, your main skill for their weapons. Pretty much everything else here is pointless. They still could have improved the game to where making these are useful for your companions in some way. That's just what they needed to do. All the skills were pointless. However, the ability tree was much better. What they did here was a whole lot better than the previous one. In Adam 1, I mean, if you got 4 or 5 skills by the end of the game, I mean, you were lucky. At least here, you got to see a lot of the skills, you got to use a lot of the skills. So I'm happy with what they did in this. They changed that. I like the quest log much better. Adam RPG's quest log was pretty primitive. This was a much better quest log. So as far as this game goes, obviously there were 2 major factions. You can go with the revolutionaries or the police, and there was an episode where I decided, okay, let's just go with the police. There's also, it seems to be 3 other factions in the game. The Guanaco, or however you want to pronounce it, the Gyon. Then there was the Happy, I forgot what they called them. I don't know if I can even find it now. In the warehouse at the dock, the people that we took out there, I think they were another faction that if we would have sided with them as opposed to taking them out, we would have had some different dialogues and other ways of going. So yeah, and then there was the consortium, which seemed like another faction. So it seemed like there were 3 other factions, and then the revolutionaries and the police. So as far as replay value of the game goes, this is definitely one of the games where your decisions do matter in what the outcome of the game is. This game was pretty much what I would call a graphical novel. Most of the game, 90 to 95% of this game was reading. All you were doing was talking to NPCs and reading. Very little of it was fighting. Most of the fighting that you did in the game was through random encounters, as opposed to preset areas. But the reason I don't care about that is because the combat was so bad across the board, as far as the system, that it just doesn't matter that they had zones like this that were set up, because there's no tactical nature to this game. You can't, like, okay, I'm gonna have my guy go over here and then have this guy go over here. You can't split them up. You can't control them as far as what they're going to do. There's no using of the terrain. It just doesn't matter in this game. So it is really just an advanced graphical novel. And as far as the story goes, I mean, You know, connecting Atom 1 to Atom 2, they didn't really do a good job on the the mushroom entity that you dealt with in Atom 1. Really didn't make an appearance here in any form, and I guess it kind of makes sense in a little bit because, you know, if you didn't side with it, then it wouldn't be here. But I don't know. I think they could have did a better job at that. As far as dialogues and interactions, I mean, there were several really funny things, and there were several things that were, you know, hidden dialogues. There are several achievements that in this game I didn't get, and I'll go over another video on that. But I gotta say, I like games that have lots of dialogue, lots of NPCs that talk. Many people don't like that, and I can see why. It is kind of monotonous to just, okay, you know what you're going to do. You're going to go into the zone, and you pretty much have to talk to every single NPC, and you have to hear their story to see the whole game. You know, a lot of people just want to go and do the combat, or just, you know, do the action part. And if you're one of those players, this is not the game for it. It's just not. It's simply about reading and getting into the storyline, and that's pretty much it. So in Atom 1 we learned from the fungal entity that could control just about anything, from what it looked like, that the asteroid, that the Hesperus star was an asteroid that was going to eventually ram into Earth and destroy Earth. And you know, the only way that we had time to counteract this is if the entity took control of all of humanity and got everybody working together as one unit in order to create or build whatever it is that's required to destroy this asteroid before it hits us. So the whole point was that there's not enough time for humans to do it on their own, that the fungal entity had to take over and do this. And I don't know what would have happened if you would have sided with it, because I didn't side with it. So as far as replay value goes on Atom 1 and Atom 2, there's a lot of replay value if you're into the story part of it. As far as the combat and the collecting, and you know, I collected all the gear that you can, all of the items you can pick up, and damn near 95% of it is sitting in a box or in headquarters that, you know, you just can't do anything with. You know, it's just, the crafting system was pretty terrible. So just about everything you picked up was for crafting. That was the entire purpose. Almost every fucking thing you picked up was to craft, but the crafting recipes and the crafting material, I mean the crafting, what you actually get out of the crafting was not worth it. It just simply was not worth it. So almost all the gear you picked up in the game is pretty useless unless you wanted to, you know, get money to purchase the stuff that you saw on the vendors, and then okay, you pick up stuff and sell it. So I mean, for the grand majority of the game, you don't even have to pick up anything unless you really want to get some money. So yeah, kind of pointless as far as that. The crafting system, they just should get rid of the crafting system altogether in the next Atom. If they make another Atom, just get rid of it. Get rid of all the loot, get rid of all the crafting, anything that has to do with crafting, and just put loot in that is actually good to pick up. Stuff that will be usable by your character, or stuff that is intended for you to sell simply to be able to buy something that's on the vendors that's worth having. Get rid of the crafting materials altogether. Just ditch that part of the game. It's not worth it. You could improve the crafting system, but I still don't think it's worth having it in this type of game. It's just not worth it. So if you know, if you're a dev out there of Atom RPG and Trudograd, just get rid of the crafting system altogether. It's terrible. Find a way to make the skills worth it on the companions when you get the companions. Make these better. Get rid of all these skills that's just completely pointless. If the only thing that matters is this skill, then that's the only skill I need to see. But find a way to make the companions better as far as spending points. I mean, part of the fun of the game is leveling up, and if you're looking at your companions and they get a level, I mean, okay, getting the ability points was great. You know, that was fun. Okay, so I can actually get something and improve my companion. The skills, completely pointless. Find some way of getting this and making it better. Yeah. Itemization in the game was horrible. Um, you know, there was a couple of items that I picked up that were like, wow, that's really good. But then if you only have, if your intelligence is over 5, you can't use it. If your intelligence is over 5, you can't use it. Well, that's retarded. I mean, that's just retarded. I mean, it's easy to get your character up to this. I mean, look at this. I've got almost, I've got 5 stats over 8 or over. I mean, yeah, the itemization was bad. There were several guns that you can pick up along the way, but none of them seem like a vast improvement over the guns that you end up getting. So other than curiosity, there was no reason to use any other gun. Other than I was curious to see what this one does. I mean, the guns needed to be less like new. Just remove some of the guns out of the game altogether, or I don't know, make the ammo so rare that you are forced to use other guns because there isn't other ammo available for the gun that you have. I mean, I don't know. I do like how they did this though. This was an improvement. This system here. The magazine one, they need to don't put jamming chance on anything. If you're putting a mod on a weapon, don't put a jamming chance in there, especially because the jamming percentage does not work. If it says it jams 3%, you can guarantee 10 to 20% of the time that fucking thing's gonna jam. Hands down. I kinda like this idea, the camo suits, and the other various suits like this. That was cool at the beginning of the game before you got the power armor. I like that. I like the power armor. As far as the skills, the dash was useful. I never really did any of these. I don't know. They seem pointless. The game wasn't dark enough for you to ever use this. I could have used the discharge, but by the time anything got close to me, they were already dead, so kind of useless. Shield, whatever. Same thing. They were dead before I could use it. And this, I don't know. What was the point of this at all? Other than to take screenshots? I don't know. Maybe there's something in the game that you would have seen with this on. Who knows? So yeah. So in this game, we got the railgun to Adam. We know the asteroid's coming. Will the railgun destroy the asteroid? Can we shoot something at it? I mean, it can launch satellites into space. Extend your mind and say, okay, I guess we can launch something at an asteroid and destroy it or change its trajectory. I don't know. But if they go into another atom, I don't know how old this game was, so I'll look online and see whether or not there's another game planned by this developer. But I gotta say, I do like the graphics. I mean, if you look at the graphics on all the models of the doors, everything, every detail, it's really, they did a good job on the graphics part of it. The combat needs to be better though. I mean, the combat was very, very simplistic. Yeah, the combat was just like, okay, we'll throw this in here for the story. I mean, that's pretty much it. The combat was secondary to the story, and you just didn't feel like it was anything other than, okay, I just get my skills up and get my armor up, and then I'm untouchable. Every now and then I'll get crit for like 100 and die, but pretty much did the game. Well, I've got 7 endurance here, but for all of Adam 1, I had like 1 endurance, so I really only had like 80 hit points, if that, maybe even 60 to 80 hit points was the maximum hit points I had in Adam 1 with 1 endurance, and I still finished the game with no problem. So I mean, that shouldn't, yeah, that could have been done better as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, as far as story goes, you know, if you think about Fallout and think about Wasteland, so those two are similar games as far as the genre goes, the post-apocalyptic world. You know, it's obvious this had a lot of Fallout had a lot to do with this game as far as, you know, mindset and how it was designed and how it looks and how it plays. It's an advanced form, a far more advanced form as far as before you get to, you know, Fallout 3. It's more like, this is more like a Fallout and Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 kind of game. And they did a good job on it, I think. So, yeah. Next episode, we'll look at some achievements and, yeah. Alright, later, guys.